Okay, everybody, good morning. We are filming this Thursday morning. This is about almost as live as you're going to get for the throwdown. I am up very early for me on the West Coast. Of course, Casey Anders is chilling in the middle of the afternoon. The things I do for this guy, it is Thursday Night Throwdown. We are looking with live results, because I just tell you the results here. 5 big matches, really, really great promos. The results are not what I expected. Way more definitive wins than I thought was going to happen this week, but we will get into that. Casey Anders, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm very excited to see how this week shakes out because there was a lot of really, really strong work this week. So I don't know the results yet because obviously you don't share these things with me. You just let them happen. But a lot of really, really strong promos this week. I'm looking forward to breaking them down a little bit.
I'm going to share with you right now if you just wait 2 flipping seconds. Okay, let's get right into it. First match, Jeff Christie, the security guard, one of our many enhancement talent, as you called him last week, against Sleazy Steve, who took that tough loss the week before in the internet title match. Lay it on me.
First things first, Jeff Christie has 2 hands. I was able to see that this week because there was no selfie cam. So right there, round of applause, million points. Jeff Christie not holding his phone for once. He got somebody else to be his tripod. So right up front, growth there. I love it. He actually felt like a threat in the words he was delivering this week. You know, I was a little freaked out because it's like, here's this nice guy who always like, oh, hey, I'm so conversational. And this week he actually brought some fire and said, I need this win. I'm going to take this damn win. And he didn't ramble. He made his point and got the hell out of there, which, I mean, all in all, kudos to Jeff Christie. It was a really strong week for him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The thing with Jeff, too, is that kudos to his cameraman. It was his new team security tag partner, Casey Peak, who was helping out. So good on him, although maybe Jeff should have helped Casey with his, but we'll get to that later. What was your opinion of – I'm on board 100%. I've been on Jeff's case for a while because he does do the promo game over at Millennium Pro, which is a fantasy fed, and I'm always on his case to show some fire, like you actually are in a fight, and he finally has started, and he blew me away. I'm so proud of him. Now let's get to Sleazy Steve.
So Steve's had a bit of a rough couple of weeks and a bit of a rough run of the TalkDown overall. So I think he did a good job of putting across that he is a little bit defeated and a little deflated. With that said, it was a bad week to come up against someone with something to prove because you needed Sleazy Steve at his sleaziest. You needed the Sleazy Steve that came in against me and really lit it up. And what you got was a guy who's kind of at the end of his rope, and he came up against a guy who's finding a brand new wick, and he lit it on goddamn fire. So I get where Steve's coming from. I think that this is just a bump in the road for him, but I think he needs to find his golden sunglasses and get those mofos back on his face, because this week for me was Jeff all day.
Character-wise, very good. For a voting show, not so good. And that's where that dichotomy we get with this, because it's just being a popularity contest and votes. And you're right, it was Jeff all day with the, dare I say, the Barry Horowitz situation. He beat Steve 30. It was 45 votes overall, 33-7 with 5 ties.
Wow.
Which, honestly, and no offense to Sleazy Steve because I love his character, several of those votes were, dare I say, his pals. That this was a Jeff wiped the floor with Steve, and there's no denying it.
With that said, Jeff Christie, if you ever go back to selfie cam or anything like that again, I will come out there and kill you myself, because you know you can do it now and you know you're good at it. So just goddamn keep that going. Yep.
100%. All right. Well done, Jeff, with your first big victory. We are all proud of you. Now, Casey Peak, his tag team partner and cameraman, versus Colton G, the Desert Tiger, who you lit a fire under his butt. Yeah. Let's talk about Casey first.
So with Casey...
The other Casey, not this annoying Casey, but the less annoying Casey.
Okay, well, we'll just call that time. Anyway, he actually did reach out to me. Casey did. And I think he took some of my advice to heart for this one as well. It wasn't bad, but it could have used a second take. Yep. Because I find that one of the things that I had him to focus on was to not necessarily write your whole promo, but have an idea. What the hell are you looking for?
A coffee creamer. One sec. Keep going.
So the Candyman never showed up with the coffee creamer apparently, and now we're just in the middle of a live program. We're just all right. Well, AC Peak, we need him to have an idea of what he wants to say, and he did, but he kept coming back to it. The whole desert mouse thing. What are you using for coffee creamer? Is it tartar sauce?
No, it's hot.
Oh,
hot coffee. Right. I like my sugar. I like my sugar with coffee and cream.
With Casey, he kept coming back to that same line, and I feel like that's an old trick that a lot of guys use, where they have the idea of what they want to say, and they keep trying to circle back to it. I found that with Sleazy Steve when he was up against the Dopes on the ropes. He kept saying the word Dopes, and it was kind of like almost like a home base where he could come back to. And I think Casey had that same issue. I think there's noticeable growing confidence, which is good, and he's feeling more comfortable as he goes. Yes. What he needs more than anything else in his promos is a beginning, a middle, and an end.
100%.
Because you don't have to write the whole thing out, but if you know how you want to start, and then you have your middle point, and then your ending, you can build around that. But if you have those three things, like with the beginning, it can be something as far as all these different people are coming out here and saying these different things about me. There's your beginning. It doesn't have to be anything super revelatory, but what he can do is he can build on that, find his middle where he makes his point, and then the ending where he reiterates it and says, this is what's going to happen. So there's potential there. I think there's just a few things that are going to come with reps, you got to get in front of the camera and just do it. So he's making progress. But I mean, there's still a couple of spots where he could definitely turn the camera on, do it a few times, and then pick your favorite. I think that would be something that he should try.
100%. I find, and the thing is, Casey's not even training to be a wrestler yet. That's his ultimate goal, is to do that. But I mean, I see a lot of young wrestlers, and some not so young anymore, that, they struggle with promos, and then they just don't do them. It's like, I just don't feel comfortable, which is so weird because wrestling is about being uncomfortable. It's like trying to be a pro wrestler and saying you don't want to run around in your underpants. It's like, well, what the hell are you doing? Oh, I don't like doing that. Well, then get lost. Go do something else.
I think as we go on to a bit of a tangent here, that it's just, I think that you don't need to be a perfectionist. It doesn't have to be a perfect promo as long as I believe what you're saying. It doesn't have to be this whole production where you say every word perfectly and every word draws you in. As long as you can screw up your words, but if I believe them, then naturally you're going to get excited and you're going to stutter. That's how human beings work. But I think with Casey specifically, there was a little bit too much of this is the persona that I want to be. And it's just be yourself for now, and then we'll build on that later. Colton G is showing better fire every single time I see him. This was one of those cases where he had the intensity and he had the drive where, he's pushing to be this take me seriously character. It kind of rambled a bit, but he brought it back. He was starting to get a little bit repetitive and starting to fall back on his vocal tics, but he brought it back. But you can tell that he was kind of a Ricky Bobby, he didn't know what to do with his hands. And at one point, he ripped at his shirt, but didn't want to rip his shirt off. And it was I get it. I'm the same way. I'm very much a hand talker and I do a lot of stuff, but it was a little bit distracting. But overall, his delivery was good. His out was an exclamation point and not an ellipses.
Yep.
And I think that's going to bring him the win this week.
And it did. He won 28-11 with 6 draws. Yeah, I was really impressed with Colton. Good win on his. And yeah, Casey's showing solid bits and pieces. And that's what I love about wrestling in general, not just promos, but also workers. All our young guys in the Okanagan, when they have a match, it's never perfect. If we were perfect, we wouldn't be sitting here on YouTube right now. We'd be, at
we'd be in Florida working.
Doing a big show. So, but what I say is all our young guys in the Okanagan, it's just fine tuning at this point. It's not any of these where you have matches where it's it's not a Shane match where you're I don't even know where to start with this garbage. So with our young guys, it's the same with the promos. It's you know what, tweak this, and then we're aces. And that's what I like to see. It's not scrap the whole goddamn thing and start again, please.
You're not wrong.
No, and that's because that's too much. Match number 3, we're hitting the middle point. Destro, this one surprised me, but Destro the Eskimofo and Jack Pride, a match that was supposed to happen a couple weeks ago, but Des has other obligations and he missed the deadline, as Jack Pride teased him about. So, shoot, talk about Des.
It was decent. I think that with Destro, he's kind of up and down. There are times where he's got a good idea, but maybe the delivery could use a second take, or, there's wind whipping around in the background. But this week, it was fine. Like there was an okay out to it. Like I liked his ending, that he doesn't necessarily have a catchphrase, but you can tell when the promo's over, other than the fact that the video stops. So that's good. I think one thing that I've noticed this with all of Jack Pride's matches is everyone tries to do like a play on the word pride. And it's like, it's clever to a degree, but at the same time, don't do it every time. Yep. He also has a first name, first of all. And secondly, there's so much more to the Jack Pride character than just the name. Yep. Like, if I ever come up against him, I don't know if it'll happen, but I would play probably on like the tyranny of duality and how you're never able to give 100% of yourself to something because you're always split in half. And I mean, that's just off the top of my head. I think the tyranny of duality is what's going to be Jack Pride's downfall this week.
Yeah, I told Des, because Des and I obviously we work together and we're friends when I'm not whooping his ass in Inuvik. And I said it was one of his weaker promos. He has a consistency that just needs to be fine-tuned as well. And, of course, Jack Pride took a risk this week because Pride stayed home, and it was just Jack. And shoot.
My first note here, it says bring back Pride. Honestly, I thought that the fire last week and the delivery was really good. The delivery this week was, again, the word fine and decent are coming out in this match a lot. It was fine, but it just felt almost unsure. And I know that that's kind of the whole duality of the character is Pride is this intense, very cocksure character. I just wanted to say cocksure. Jack is this almost meek, good cop to Pride's bad cop, but it almost came across more childlike and unsure to the fact where it's like, I don't believe in you. And this is the same guy that I believed in so strongly last week. So it's like, you just got to find that middle ground where, you can't necessarily transition back and forth every time, but showing the strength of one side and not really delivering on the strength of the other side just kind of makes me want you to become that Pride guy. And it's just the tyranny of duality. I keep saying it because I think it's super friggin' clever, but when you have two different sides to something and you're always split 50-50, it's hard to get 100% out.
And that's the thing, and this is character driven. If we had a weekly TV show that led to wrestling matches, it would be like, oh, is Jack wrestling this week? And then, maybe he can't keep up. Right, until Pride shows up. And I get it. There's a lot. It's a lot to work with. It's an excellent character. In our little microcosm of a talk-down show, it's hit or miss because, like I said, it's not leading to anything right now, unfortunately. I think I like it. I like the character that Jack is really having a hard time maintaining Pride, and this is the first time he was able to do it. Did it cost him? Absolutely. Des surprisingly won 28-14 with 3 draws. And the big thing, it's like Jack's fan base didn't show up as strongly as they have in the past. So blame Alberta.
I did have a note here for Jack too. It just says kudos for experimenting. Like this is the time to be trying these things.
100%.
Because 100%. Like one, there's nothing at stake right now. We're just doing this to stay sane and have fun and get better. And everybody is. That's like, before we get to the next 2 matches, everybody from week 1 to now has improved so much in leaps and bounds just because they're actually doing it. And it's surprising to me how few people, and this is why I wanted to do this invitational, is because there's so few people that are actually doing this that are seasoned professionals, and iron sharpens iron. So there's so many guys out there that could be doing this and helping the young guys get better by going up against them, and they're just not showing up. And it's like I like doing this because right now it's keeping me sane. It's something to look forward to every single week. And I think that from a fan standpoint, this is an opportunity to get to know characters, because on an indie wrestling show, you're not going to have live promos that often. So if you can get a chance to know these characters and know what they're about and tell your friends when you bring them to live indie shows when we come back, well, hey, this is Jack Pride, and he's got two sides to him, and he might flip switch in the middle of a match, and you're going to see this crazy, like, there's an opportunity to actually build the universe around just wrestling matches and wrestling moves. So I hope that's what people are taking away from this as a fan, but as wrestlers and as people who are supposed to be doing this, I think that there's a dropped ball from a lot of seasoned veterans, especially in Western Canada, who are seeing these messages every week and know this exists. And if you can hear my voice, if you're watching this and you're not part of the TalkDown, you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
And if
it could be that you and I are on it and we're very polarizing characters. That could be the issue too, is that they just don't like Casey Anderson and Marty Sugar, which is fair. Semi-main, Rusty Diamond versus Sebastian Wolf. I know you have set opinions about Rusty Diamond. Let us have it.
Yeah, I know that you kind of gave me the note to be a little more constructive, but the first thing I wrote, and I've watched this promo 5 times now, I just wrote the word nope. I just, like, it didn't hit with me on any level. I know what he's trying to do with the dry humor and everything, but first of all, what's with the bleeps and the inside jokes?
That was me. Last week, this is what I did with Rusty, because Rusty's a dear friend. Last week, he cut an original promo that was not safe for TV.
Okay.
And I made him redo it at the last minute. So he did one again that was like, he wants to push, he's a stand-up comic now, and he wants to push the envelope. And so that's why I bleeped the 2 bits, because I was like, I'm not going to make him redo it again, because it's not fair that I don't want to be back every week going, no, do it again, because now I'm like J. Jonah Jameson, and I don't want to be that guy. So instead, I was like, cut, because he named a wrestler, and it's a funny joke on the inside, but we don't need to embarrass the wrestler.
I'm sorry, but inside jokes and promos are not what we're here to do. And if you're trying to get yourself over, but don't get yourself over at the expense of understanding or losing that understanding. Please enunciate more, especially if you're going to wear a mask over your face. He's one that I keep saying, slow down when you're speaking, because it all starts to run together and garble together, and come in with some sort of plan, because it just felt like everything was rambling. And like you said, he's got to... Hold on.
Sorry. This is when I'm supposed to start waking up.
So was that your alarm or somebody calling you?
That's my alarm.
Oh, God.
I have daily alarms to get up to 9:30. I've been up for an hour and a half already, man.
I felt like this week specifically, it was just whatever popped into his head, and he was saying things like ovaries, and it just didn't connect with me on any level.
Well, the big thing with Rusty, too, is he's not trying to get over. That's the other issue. He's literally trying to get other people over by being this unlikable character, and that's part of a job in wrestling, is there is that guy that's like, it's not about me. I'm at a stage in my career, you as well, getting there, if you ever get back in the ring.
It worked this week if that was his game plan, because Sebastian Wolf, my first note here, it says, I'm a fan. It's a shame I'll have to kill him. There's been talk a couple times now that he and I want to lock horns. And there's fire, there's delivery, there was purpose. It's all there. It was another good week for Sebastian Wolf. And the TalkDown, not so much on his other venture there. That are you saying boo or bamboo?
Bamboo. Okay, Sebastian Wolf. This is the funny thing about Sebastian Wolf. One of his first matches was at Rutland May Days with Big West Wrestling, which a lot of young guys get their start there, which is what I like to see. And he wrestled a guy named Draven Andrews. There's
no relation.
What's that? No relation at all. Sebastian Wolf, Draven Andrews, Miles DeVille, Matt Bronson are kind of the 4 main guys of this training class down with the Lionsgate Dojo down in Vancouver. And there's a young guy, Parm. He's part of the group. But the 4 main guys are the guys I listed. Dre and Miles and Bronson were kind of a step ahead of Wolf. And this break has really shown his character. He's usually a quiet guy. He would cut short little promos. That he has so much family that lives up in and around the Okanagan that he was getting great views, even though his promos were just short and sweet. And he's really expanded his character to the point that now everybody wants to wrestle this guy. And he's made himself, for lack of a term, he made himself a major player in the lower mainland doing absolutely nothing but wrestling a punching bag. To his credit, I mean, I'm very impressed that he's a quiet guy and he has just taken this character and run with it.
Yeah, and I mean, he deserves all the praise he's getting because, like, he's backing it up now with his promos, and you can tell that he's one of those guys where if he messes up, he'll do it again, you know, and he'll have an idea in his head of where he wants to go, and you can see almost in his pacing, too, where he knows the next words he's going to say before he says them, and he gives himself the time to think about them without running together too much.
Okay, so final score, as expected, Sebastian Wolf, 38, Rusty 6, 1 draw. Massive, biggest victory of the week, as expected. Setting up for a big showdown, the Okanagan's best promo guy, not named Marty Sugar. No, he's the best right now. Camaro Cope, Sebastian Wolf next week. Should be a killer matchup because Camaro Cope's hitting all cylinders on his promos as well. You're not watching Cope's consumption. What's that?
We haven't seen him in a while, though.
Yeah, but he's been so busy with his own YouTube show, Cope's Consumption, that's taking up a lot of his time, and that's a great show. I'm not a big fan of long promos, and there's only about 4 or 5 guys in all of wrestling that I'll listen talk to for more 2 or 3 minutes, and Cope is one of them. He told a story about a bear a couple weeks ago that I didn't want to end. It's so amazing. All right. It was about a bear. Nothing to do with wrestling.
I think it's main event time. I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Lance Skulls, and me too. Lance Skulls, Justin Sider, Lance Skulls' best work, and he's been consistent, has taken everyone's constructive criticisms to heart and put together this. Take it away.
Yeah, first note that I have here is his best work yet. And that's the thing is it's not something where he's slowly been getting better. He gets better every single time. Yep. Ever since we've been doing this, and like he's another one that's reached out to me outside and just said, hey, I'd love to know what you think about this. Or like, you know, we just started doing the throwdown a few weeks ago, but like he wanted me to go back and watch his older stuff. He was confident. He was concise. It was well delivered. And it was like just the part where he changed his clothes and said, this is how a champion should dress. That's old school heel heat. And I loved it. I popped for the Riddler reference because I'm a Batman mark. So I was like, I was all about that. But the whole thing was just great. It was just a great promo, start to finish.
100%. I really liked it. And yeah, definitely the old school stuff, the Bockwickel and the Flair stuff. This is how a champion acts. This is how a champion dressed. I loved it all. I even liked the end where he walked off going, yeah, that's the best one yet. Just that cocky, that cocky heel persona that, yeah, I got this. And it's just, that's again, it reminds you of Ric Flair cutting the old Saturday promos and then getting his suit ripped off.
Part about it too is it didn't overstay its welcome. It didn't feel like I was watching a 3, 4, or 5 minute promo, and it wasn't, because it was there, it was good, and then it was done, and it left me wanting more. That's
what a good wrestling promo should be. Bang, bang, bang. See ya. Yeah. Up next, speaking of up next, the champion who has steamrolled the competition has, dare I say, come out of nowhere. After his first he lost in the qualifying round. Since then, has not lost. Unstoppable, Justin Sider. Yeah,
I like normally when there's one where I'm very complimentary of it, there's other where I pick it apart a little bit. This one also really good. Like he just has this aura, this confidence where he knows he can talk the talk. And right now, all he's got to do is talk the talk. So he's doing a really good job of it. He's using his vocabulary well and not repeating a lot of words and not coming back on the same point over and over again. It's like, hey, I'm gonna come at you quick, but you're gonna want to pay attention to what I'm saying. And I think the changes in intensity and delivery, not just from promo to promo, but from work like week to week, work well. Like last week, he was very fired up against Sleazy Steve. This one, he's a little more celebratory, and like just even the delivery of his last line, the Justin Sider is one stiff drink. Last week, it was like a punch in the gut. This week, it was like a pat on the ass. You know, It was like, hey, I'm one stiff drink, and now you all know it. And it all really blended well together. The two promos made me want to see a rematch to the point where I couldn't pick a winner on this. I think this has got to be the closest match in TalkDown history. If it's not a draw, I'll be shocked.
Well, prepare to be shocked. And I will say this. Both of them were very good. The only thing I didn't like, and I'll say this, because Big West tries to be family friendly, the insider. It's funny that Justin Sider is supposed to be kind of a TVMA character, and he hasn't done a single thing, but then the challenger's like making a off-color joke, and I was like, okay, weird. But that's trying to run a family-friendly wrestling promotion. This one surprised me in that the big thing with Justin Sider, too, is the family, while it is a funny word, is legit because he won 28-8 with 9 ties.
28-8.
Mopped the floor with Lance.
Wow.
Which doesn't make sense to me. I'm thinking the Skulls fans either turned on him or didn't show up. But the family definitely shows up, and they proved that again.
Yeah,
not that the promo wasn't a winner, but the fact that they won by so much is that he is using social media like the Dopes did to his advantage.
Hey, speaking of, where are the Dopes?
They took a break. If you saw their last one when they dropped the title to Justin, Smokezilla, the little one, stormed off because he's a big star now.
The Dopes? No, that's I am. I'm the champion. No, I don't need this news job anymore. This mustache and this bow tie. I'm the champ. I'm going to go cut promos like a champion because I am a champion. I quit.
I have heard they're going to be on the season finale.
Have you?
Don't know what they're doing, but
well, if they show up for Casey Andrews versus the World, they're going to get smoked again. So
you better be careful because I've got a couple in already. 4 or 5 people have sent them in, and you are in tough. There is one from a young lady that blew me away and also may have given me a nightmare too. You've got some stiff competition, man.
I don't care if Jose Canseco himself shows up at my door and cuts a promo in my face. This is mine to lose, and I'm not going to do it. So I'm not going to cut a promo here because that's tacky and that's not what we do. But
I don't want to use Major League Baseball video again and possibly get sued.
That's fair. The express written consent is hard to obtain. I'm excited. I am very excited to see what comes about from Casey Andrews versus the World. Plus, I mean, you got Sebastian Wolf versus Camaro Cope. We've just got this crazy finale set up, and I think that it's going to be interesting to see what actually comes about next week.
And the big thing, too, is that if Jack Pride had won his match with Dez, he was going to be the next number 1 contender. So now Dez's win has thrown everything into, we'll have to check the rankings, and I'll make an announcement later today. I may just tack it on the end of this show.
I don't think Pride's going to be happy with that.
No, not at all. And I shudder. I think maybe Jack and Pride should just have a match against each other this next week to settle their.
That's the best idea you've had since you decided that I was your top star.
Well, I'm a booker. I'm smart. I'm wicked smart.
So that's
like them apples.
That's another throwdown in the books as far as I'm concerned. Great job by everybody. Final thoughts. Everybody did good. And if anybody goes back to selfie cam next week, I'll lose my mind.
All right, dude. That's it. I am out for Casey Andrews. I am the Mad Dog Marty Sugar. This has been the Throwdown. We will see you next week. Season finale.
Get those videos in.
Alrighty, folks, as promised, here is the Season 1 finale show. For the internet title, Justin Sider will battle the spoiler, Destro the Escamofo. Casey Andrews versus the World. Get it to the Big West Wrestling Facebook page or email bigwestwrestling@me.com. Your maximum 45-second promo for this melee-type match. Winner takes all. Camaro Cope versus Sebastian Wolf, the big match we want to see. Lance Skulls versus Big Rig Jimmy Mitchell. Colton G takes on Malik Mello. Rusty Diamond takes on Uptown Brown. And in another tag team match, Team Security, Casey Peak and Jeff Christie are going to battle Handsome Pete and a mystery partner. Also special appearances by Jack Pride, Sleazy Steve, and the Dopes on the Ropes. Do not miss this season finale. You're going to love it.
weird looks. I mean, I get weird looks anyway because I'm that good looking. But when I'm walking my dog, I'm cutting promos. You know, I'm walking down the street and between pulling on the leash, I'm like, by the way, we're just going to get a quick. That's my pandering for the week.